Hey everyone, Steven here, and today I'm reviewing the new BSH01 Monitor Arm from BenQ. I haven't reviewed a monitor arm in quite some time since I trade out monitors so often to review, but I'm a big fan of BenQ products because they're always quality, and this one has a very sleek aesthetic to it along with some solid specs. And with that being said, let's talk about these specs first here. You get everything that you need inside of the box. This has the base, and you can use this with a C-clamp, or you can actually run this through a grommet if you needed to do that. You have a really nice build material here. It's a heavy-duty metal. It doesn't feel like it's going to easily break or bend or anything like that. And then it also has a very nice coating on it, which doesn't feel like it's going to easily get scratched. Now, one of the first more detailed specs that I want to cover is going to be the holding weight here, because as these monitors are getting heavier, I think that's a big concern for a lot of people is if they mount this, can the monitor arm even hold it? The BSH01 here can hold 4 to 44 pounds. That's going to cover most of the monitors that I can think of and that I've reviewed that are out on the market right now. You may run into trouble when you get to these super large screens, potentially, but that initially was like, I'm thinking size, because some of these are like 42 to 43, 44 inches, but this can actually hold monitors up to 45 inches as well. So I think you're really just covered across the board, unless you needed a larger VESA pattern. So for the VESA pattern here, this is 75 to 100 millimeters. You can find extensions out there if you needed more like a 200 millimeter by 200 millimeter pattern. But for most people, like 99% of people, this is just going to cover all of your needs when it comes to the weight and the screen size that this can hold. Now, I mentioned you can mount this with the C-clamp or through a grommet, but you have a reinforcement plate that this comes with. So that's going to be if you have a hollow tabletop, honeycomb board, MDF, or a glass surface. I know for a lot of people that's a concern because you don't want it to damage that or potentially break it. Here, they have that reinforcement plate, and so you are covered with that as well. You also get these little foam pads. So you can use this where it's not going to scratch up your desk, or just to give it a little bit more squish. So again, we may not be clamping down on that so hard and causing any type of damage. And for the desk thickness that this will fit, it can be 1.7 to 5 centimeters without the reinforcement plate. And then if you are going to use that, it is 1.2 to 4.5 centimeters. Now, there are a handful of different types of monitor arms in terms of the style. This one is going to be a gas spring monitor arm, which ensures that it is going to last for a long time. And then for the tilt structure with this, so the portion that actually attaches to the monitor itself, that's actually going to have a spring mechanism. So this will just make sure that it stays exactly where you want it to and it won't just sag down. Next, I want to talk about the installation process, which is very simple and easy to do. The handout that they give you for the step-by-step instructions, very easy to follow. That's another thing that I really like that BenQ does with their products. It's just easy when it comes to installation of these because the guide is so well laid out. It's not confusing at all. They even lay out for you the steps on the bag where you have all your miscellaneous screws and other parts here. It tells you what step it's associated with, which is really nice. So here you have 7 total steps that you will follow to install this. After I cleared my desk, I got everything lined out, and I actually ended up using the reinforcement plates. I don't need them technically because I have a very thick piece of slab wood for my desk top here, but I like the aesthetic. It just looks really nice with that there. And again, you do get those little foam cushions, so it's not going to actually leave a mark or anything like that on your desk. Then I ended up setting up the C-clamp, and with this I have the Govee DreamView Pro light strip in the back, and I also have some cages for cable management. Being mindful of how much this is actually going to take up on the back end is something I would want people to know, because mine actually, in terms of the cable management cage, blocks how far to the left and right I can slide this. So the orientation is a little bit more limited for me because of that. And that has to do with the depth of my desk. It's only 2 feet deep. and whether or not I want this closer to me or further away. If I get it closer to me, I can center that out, but then I don't really have room for my mouse and keyboard. So I am going to have this skewed towards the left because of that. If I move those cable management cages, I can actually slide this further to the left or right and get it more what I want. That's something that I will be doing down the road. Now, the next piece is important because if you read the manual and pay attention based off the orientation, this will allow that bottom swivel arm to go 180 or 360 degrees. So it depends on what you need. So pay attention to that part, which I do like that this has that feature. Most of the time you're kind of locked into one thing. Here you have the two options, which gives this more versatility. Now you do have all of the tools in the bag to install this. Here I'm using the hex key that actually has a flathead screwdriver end to it, and that's what you're going to use to tighten that arm to the base. Next, I attached the flathead portion of the monitor mount to the top arm. Pay attention to the screw on that monitor mount portion, because based on that, that's how you know you have this set up right. I was just kind of skimming through it. I thought I was paying attention and looking at where it was supposed to go, but I had it backwards. And so then I ended up having to switch that around a little bit later. So just pay attention to that, and then you won't have to switch this around like I did. After that, I took the top arm and then attached it to the bottom arm here. Use that flathead screwdriver to just tighten this down. And then I was ready to actually attach the base plate to the monitor, which that is simple, quick, and easy to do. You do get extra parts with this as well. So just in case you were to lose one of these screws, for instance, you do have backups. And then you just hook this into place, and you have that bottom screw that you'll use to make sure that this is very secure to the mounting plate. And then the last thing that you're going to do here is just put in the cable management kind of little bracket thing on the back of the base. And that's it. Quick, easy, simple to do. Next, I ran the cables to my PC monitor. Here you have these clip-on plastic pieces that hold the cables in place. One thing I do want to note is you do want to make sure that your cables are long enough to actually work with the monitor and the movements that it can do. So I ended up ordering a longer DP cable because mine's just a little bit too short to make all the adjustments that I want with this monitor arm. Next, let's look at the adjustments that this can make, starting with the bottom arm here. We talked about this earlier. You have that little piece where this will allow this to rotate either 180 degrees or 360. The little screw on the back of this makes sure that this stays firm to the base, but if you do tighten that a little bit more, it does adjust the speed in which it can swivel to the left and right here. This is how, for me, I can fold this in using that other arm so I can make it so that it will be a little bit further back, which is what I prefer, versus closer to me where I can swivel it a little bit more forward and then swing that second arm forward as well. Now with that secondary arm, you essentially get 90 degrees to the left and right. You get more than that, but if you have cables running to your monitor, you're going to wrap it around the base, so it's just not going to work. When you're looking at this stacking to the left and right that I'm doing, you can actually get 19 inches to the left and then 19 inches to the right from center. So for lateral shifting, you're getting a total of 19 inches. But if you look at the extension, how far it can reach forward, you're getting another 19 inches there. So combining those, you can get this in some pretty far positions if you needed to. For total height adjustment, this can go from 8.7 all the way up to 18.7 inches with this. You can do that by moving the monitor panel itself or grab the arm if you wanted to. For rotation, this can rotate 180 degrees to the left or right, but essentially this can go 360 degrees in a direction. You can just keep spinning this. Of course, that's not going to work once you have this hooked up because your cables would just wrap around the attachment VESA plate there, but you do have more than 180 degrees is the point. For tilt, this can tilt forwards 20 degrees and then back 50 degrees. So you have a lot of tilt here. Way more options than just your regular adjustable stand that a monitor may come with. Now for me, this was good out of the box. I actually didn't have to make any adjustments to this. The tension was just right, but if you do need to adjust the tension for the middle arm, on the joint there, you have the minus and plus sign, and you're going to use the Allen wrench or hex key that this comes with to adjust there. You can use that same Allen wrench to adjust the tension for the spring on the monitor mounting plate, which will affect the tilt. So the main appeal is going to be all these different adjustments that this provides over a regular stand that may be adjustable. On top of it saves a lot of space. When you look at your desk, it's just a cleaner look. You free up a lot of space towards the back end where a stand would be taking up a lot of space, especially depending on the type of stand that a monitor comes with. And I also think that this provides an overall very appealing aesthetic, where we see a lot of monitor arms now are very busy or they're very large, and it's just too much going on. Here you can simplify everything while still having a very clean, sleek looking aesthetic to your desk. So having used this for a while now, I think BenQ has done a phenomenal job with the BSH01 monitor arm. They're pairing their great build quality with all the adjustments that you're going to need for a monitor arm that are all extremely smooth to make. And this has the weight capacity to hold these larger monitors, all while keeping a minimal and sleek aesthetic. The gas spring in this has been tested for over 25,000 cycles with the 44 pounds on this, and then this is going to come with a 1-year warranty, so you're covered if you have any issues. Now the price here is pretty competitive with the other monitor arms on the market that I've seen with a similar build quality and ability to hold these heavier monitors, and I'm going to have a link for this in the description if you want to pick it up. If you have any questions about this, let me know in the comment section and I'll make sure to answer that for you there. And that's going to officially wrap this video up. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.